function in the same place at the same time. When God is in charge, Satan cannot be in charge. So the only moment or the only reason that Satan can be in charge is when the presence of God has been withdrawn. Satan says to God, that is it not because you have formed an edge about Job? In other words, it is the presence of God with Job that is the edge of fire, preventing Satan to have a free flow and a field day to destroy Satan. But the moment God withdrew and gave Satan the permission, then Satan had the audacity to destroy everything. Now, when they say that my way is hidden from the Lord, you need to understand that they are talking about the withdrawal of the presence of God. Because in biblical language, whenever the Old Testament speaks about the face of God, he was not talking about literally the face of God. Is somebody here? Assuming you are going to the office of Apostle Dr. Labi, and then you get to the office and the secretary says, well, the apostle says he does not want to see your face. Now, it does not mean that you can cover your face and enter the office. It does not mean that you can enter the office backward. But when the apostle says, I do not want to see your face, it means I do not want to see you. So in the Bible, whenever they spoke about the face of God, Drinkard says, and let me quote, he says, in a number of uses, the Hebrew word phanim, which is translated face or presence, becomes synonymous with the person. So in other words, the face of God is God. God is the face of God. And the reason why the Bible writers use the face is because in ancient Hebrew culture, the face was considered the most expressive part of the body. Why? Because it reveals the emotions of the person. It reveals the intentions and character. When I see your face, I can tell your emotions. When I see your face, I can tell you are happy or sad. Because when you are sad, your countenance will drop. But when you are happy or excited, your countenance will lighten up. So when they use the word face, they are also talking about the emotions of God. God showing his displeasure for the way the people were living their lives. And now the reason why I said that the withdrawal of the face allows the enemy to work is because there is a relationship between the presence of God, the person of God, and the power of God. The power of God is in the person of God. The person of God reflects the power of God. So if the presence of God is equal to the person of God, then the presence of God is equal to the power of God. So when the presence is not available, the person is not available. When the person is not available, the power is not available. But one thing I love about God is that whenever he withdrew his presence from the people, he did not do it permanently. It was only temporarily. So in other words, when the enemy thinks that because my God has withdrawn, he will be allowed to destroy me, he only has to know that it is not permanent. It is only but for a moment. And when I have exhausted the time for which it is assigned, the power of God will be released again. And when the power of God is released again, whatever I lost, I will be able to regather and recapture. And the good news is that whatever the enemy caused in my